Hello and welcome to the Tea Party Hardy channel. Well, Nancy Pelosi, along with Mr. Chuck Schumer of New York, have decided that they want, with 2 weeks ago, to either impeach President Trump again or use the 25th Amendment against him. And the 25th Amendment says that you are not of sound mind. I think they should hold their powder on that for, in 3 weeks when the very, very obviously senile Joe Biden slips into that house. Then you've got, and they're probably going to do it anyways because they want Harris. So I want to show you this. Take a look. At the top of this, it says, Alert! Transportation Secretary Elaine Chao becomes the first Trump cabinet member to resign over insurrection? Insurrection. Is that what it was? Let's look back to the Kavanaugh hearings. The Kavanaugh hearings were in 2018. And in 2018, there were multiple protesters forcibly removed from the Senate gallery as they continually interrupted the Supreme Court confirmation vote for Brett Kavanaugh. The dramatic moments began as Vice President Mike Pence presided over the Senate chamber and began the official vote. A female protester began shouting, "I do not consent! I do not consent! Where is my representation?" Scenes from dystopia. Screaming protesters disrupt at Vice President's effort to begin final Kavanaugh pick at Twitter, blah, blah, blah. And that was in the Senate, which was Capitol Hill. And when this but when the site first loads, and I don't know if it'll do it, but if it will show you Capitol Hill on, let's see, what's the exact date? October 6th, 2018. Okay? Now, I'm just going to assume that you've seen the pictures from yesterday on January 6th with the Trump protesters on Capitol Hill just kind of standing around holding their banners. Well, it's not any different than what it's going to show here. And we'll come back to that while it's loading. And I'm not the only one to notice that the coverage of Capitol Hill protests by mainstream media called out, compared to months, not hours, months of anti-police violence have been taking place. Prominent voices excused violence when it fit their agenda, says Tim Graham. And you can see the examples that they'll list in here. I'm not going to read it to you. But, you know what they are. With Cuomo saying, well, when did they ever... Look. These were mobs... Oh, that's from last night. When he talked about it before, and he's like, what? And when did you ever think that riots were going to be peaceful? And it's like, oh my God, are you kidding me? So you've got him, you've got AOC with her tweet in June saying that, oh no, the whole point of protest is to upset people and things like that. Let's see if the Kavanaugh picture's loaded yet. No, it's not going to. Oh well. Anyways, but it's the same form. It's all of these tons of people standing on Capitol Hill with their protests. It's no different. And yet it wasn't called insurrection. And it was being excused by countless reporters. Remember, we were told watching the fires behind the reporters, mostly peaceful. Mostly peaceful. So I want to know how long until we start seeing on NBA basketball courts the words Trump at the end of each side of the court. How long until we see in baseball games the name Trump in the corners instead of BLM? Because we've learned that if you do this, you get rewarded by corporate sponsors. Because I can't go to a single corporation in the last months that doesn't have the BLM. We support BLM. Okay, well now, since the Trump supporters have taken an inch of a walk towards what the BLM protesters had done, and only an inch, because no fires were set yesterday. And if you were paying attention, 4 of the Trump supporters were killed. How many at the mostly peaceful riots of their supporters were killed? I'm thinking the number's 0. So we on the right act inappropriately, and it was inappropriate, do not condone it, and we get killed. When they act inappropriately, burn down buildings, kill 19 different people in their riots. No, the protesters killed 19 different people. They're rewarded with corporate sponsors, with names on the back of sports players' jerseys, and on end zones and the end courts, etc. So I'm expecting that the same thing will happen with Trump supporters, that we will start seeing Trump's name everywhere, because that's what we were taught. And if we're supposed to follow our role models, that's what the role models are. And we know they're role models, otherwise the corporations wouldn't be sponsoring them. We know they're role models, otherwise they wouldn't be on the back of jerseys. So as we emulate our role models, only just a small degree, no Trump protester killed anybody yesterday. They were killed. No Trump protester yesterday burned anything. Now, did they tear down stuff? Yeah. Was that right? No, it definitely wasn't right. Don't endorse any of it. I really don't. It's going to end bad, just like it did for BLM as far as public support goes. But they still got those corporate sponsors, and we're still being told they're role models. So why is the right being accused of being bad for following the directions of their role models? And I think we all know the answer, but I'm still going to ask the question because it's a valid question. And another thing to compare between then and now. Police are seeking persons of interest in the Capitol Hill unrest. And this is on Fox News' first page. And it's like, okay, because we all remember the seeking of the people that came out to the Kavanaugh hearing, right? When they stormed and they all broke in. And by the way, I don't know if this has the actual number, but I heard, and I don't want to say it because it was a lot. Let's see. Okay, down here. Police said that 13 people were removed and arrested from the Senate chamber. So 13 got in. I think that's fairly equivalent to the number yesterday. Give or take, plus or minus. But the point being, was this called an insurrection for the highest court in the land to have the exact same phenomenon going on outside to inside, where they broke in and they disrupted? Were they called insurrectionists? I don't remember that. It's nowhere in there. No. Nope. So if you look at the current hour for what they've got, let's see if it'll do it. Just a moment in time here where we can look and go, oh yeah, I remember that day. So this is January 7th when I'm recording this. And you can see transition and proceeds. Watch now, President-elect Biden condemning Trump's remarks in the U.S. Capitol Hill protests for riots. Yet he didn't protest BLM. He didn't. He hasn't met with them either. That's interesting in its own. A question of courage. Pence is angry over Trump's treatment of him. Yeah, I would be too. I mean, he really was asking Trump to do something cuckoo. Let's see. Air Force vet killed. That is beyond tragic. First cabinet member resigns. Okay, you do know that's Mitch McConnell's wife, right? And Mitch McConnell did not stand up for Trump at all. So big shocker there. No. And then here's the other article I already pulled up with the 25th Amendment money. If left really wanted to resolve this and start having the country come together, at least a little bit, you don't call it insurrection when you let it happen time and time and time again before, and you pat them on the back. And they did pat them on the back, and they give them millions and millions of dollars through the corporate sponsors. And when it happens one time on the other side, and I warned about this in my video about where it says, if you think 2021 is going to make you wish it was 2020. It's in there. All this was easy to predict. It was really easy to predict. And there's tons more worse coming. January 6th is just getting warmed up, baby. Biden calls the mob that stormed the U.S. Capitol domestic terrorists. Completely fine. Completely true. But what about Portland, where it's happening for months? And Atlanta, where it happened? And Minneapolis, where it happened? All of those were the same thing, but now it's bad where before it was good. And we're supposed to not recognize this? And we're supposed to be okay with this dual justice system where when they get arrested, they're like, oh, tisk, 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 shame on you, run away. And they want to send the Trump supporters to jail for 10 to 20 years for doing less than what they did? That is not what justice is. There's a reason that the scale of justice has two scales, so that you can weigh, as the liberals call it, the whatabouts. The whatabouts go on one side, and the what did you do goes on the other side. And the liberals are like, oh, you just want to talk about whatabouts? Yes, that's why the scales of justice have two scales. One side is for the whatabouts. That's the whole point. And when your lawyers are arguing the case, and their lawyers are arguing their case, they're going to bring up nothing but whatabouts. And the judge is going to make their decision, presumably, on those whatabouts. So don't ever be fooled into thinking that whatabouts are invalid. Oh, this computer is really mad at me. Okay. Let's see, what else do we have here? That may be enough. I mean, you get the idea that I was watching, and I do recommend, the Lotus Eaters podcast from this morning, American time. And I watched Tim Pool's IRL from last night, and then his segments from this morning. He hasn't done his third segment yet. And I agree completely that this needs to be done calmly and rationally. But one of the good points that was brought up is everybody keeps saying it's unfair that the way conservatives are treated. It is unfair. But when it's also unfair in the legal system, I mean, forget about the big tech, like striking down your ability to be heard. No, don't forget about that. Do remember that. But you've got that going on. You've got the legal system. All of this disparity. It's like, how is that not the definition of oppression? And are the oppressed supposed to just keep smiling and liking it? You know, you've got all these people that are running around in the BLM movement that are like, oh, we're so oppressed, we're so oppressed. Then why are you on all of these media shows and getting millions of dollars? And you have your name on the back of some dude's jersey. I don't think that's oppressed. No, oppressed is when it's called insurrection for doing 1/10 of the naughty, and it was naughty, of what's been happening for years. Years. How else are we supposed to address it? We go to the voting booth, and as far as we know, there were definitely irregularities. There are hundreds to possibly thousands of people that have signed sworn affidavits that this is some serious hanky-panky. And it is not in dispute that in Detroit, they did block the windows so that you couldn't see them counting. That's not in dispute. Why would you do that if it's going to be a clean count? Why would you block the windows? If it were to happen in reverse, because we keep being told we know it's not fair, but you're just going to have to eat that fecal matter and enjoy it. No. There has to be a way to stop it. The voting booth isn't working because magic numbers just appear after they stop counting. Wait, they stop counting and the magic numbers appear? Go figure! You have all of these things happening in that regard. So what is the solution? Lotus Eaters didn't actually come up with a really good one. Neither did Tim Pool. It's like, guys, something's got to happen where it stops being so phenomenally tilted with the scales of justice. One side screams that oh my gosh, we're so oppressed, where's the evidence? I can show you, everybody can show you the mountains of evidence. It's right here. Insurrection, 25th Amendment, blocked from Facebook, blocked from Twitter, called all these names. I mean, the evidence is ample. Do with it what you will. I don't know what we're supposed to do. But if we're going to use that ridiculous saying that says, if you keep doing the same thing expecting a different result, that's a definition of insanity. It's also the definition of practicing. Hate to break that to you. If you keep doing the same thing expecting a different result, that's actually the definition of practicing. Yeah, so there you go. Anyway, so what are we supposed to do? Trump was the only guy that fought for us. Trump was the only one. The amount of time that people call into the Rush Limbaugh show and say, is there ever going to be a Republican that actually has a spine? And Rush is like, well, maybe someday. We got to keep voting for him. We got to keep. It's like, dude. Instead of having the elephant as the symbol for the Republican Party, can we make it far more honest and just make it a freaking speed bump? Because all the Republicans that are elected do is slow down via a speed bump what the Democrats want. And the Democrats always get what they want. They just got all the branches of power. Hell hath no fury like the Democrats with all 3 branches of power. Thanks for watching. We'll see you in the future. Take care. Act appropriately. Let's work this out. Let's figure it out. Let's do it legally. And let's win.